Hey folks, thought I'd record a quick video for you, little experiment video. This morning my pod started beeping at me and it wouldn't stop for some reason. So I took a hammer to it and made it stop. Well, in the process of doing that, I found all these pieces. I don't know if they're gold plated or not, but they sure look like it. So today I'm going to set an experiment to determine whether or not there's any gold in here or not. This is a circuit board. There's chips in here. This is obviously gold plated. This is flash gold. You can get it off, but there's really not much gold on there as compared to maybe say these IC chips. But there is a good amount of gold on here. These are technically a biohazard, and we're supposed to dispose of them properly, primarily because of the cannula that's up there. It's got human waste on it. It's mine, so no big deal for me. I just had never thought about taking these apart before. Something else I had not thought of before, shame on me maybe, I don't know, we're doing what we're told just to throw them away, but there are lithium batteries in each one of these. There are 3 lithium batteries in these guys, and I didn't really think much about it, but now I'm definitely thinking about I don't want to throw them in a landfill. To each his own. Do what your doctor has recommended for sure, but for me, I'm going to be taking these apart from now on, especially if there's gold in them. I'm going to try to recover the gold, if from nothing else, from these circuit boards. But I'm going to see if there are small pieces here that contain gold as well. This strung out piece right here, don't know if you can see that or not, but that is a spring that I unwound trying to get it out. This looks like some sort of a piezoelectric speaker. This must be what makes the beeping noises at me. Here is a roller of some sort. It held a spring on it. I don't know if this is gold plated or if it is brass that's gold plated or if it's just brass. I can't imagine. They're not electrical conductive pieces except for this one, but they sure look like gold. And then these small pieces here, I smashed this one, but this had a small spring stuck in it as well. It's a medical device. Don't know if it is gold plated or not, but we're going to find out. So how are we going to find out? I made this little contraption this morning. I just took some leftover styrofoam, some test tubes that I had, small little nails I just stuck in there to hold this in here. This is just an empty box underneath here, and I've got these little nails just holding this top piece in here. I took a knife and just made a cross section cut, stuck the test tube in there, and while they don't stand up perfectly straight, they do stand up, and they're not going to fall over. They're pretty stable. So I am going to take each one of those pieces independently just to make sure I get a good test. Like, these are the small pieces. They both hold springs and they both do the exact same thing. So I am going to take these and put them in the test tube and test them independently. I will label each one of these also so I don't forget. Okay, so I will not label this. I'm going to label the test tube directly itself. All right, so this is another little pin piece. I'm going to process that separately. I'm going to process the piezoelectric separately. I'm going to process the spring separately. And I'm going to process this roller piece. I'm not sure what to call it. I'm going to process it separately. I'm going to pull this out because I really don't want to break that piece. Okay, this I don't need to test. I know exactly what that is. So do you. So we're going to put that over here. I'm going to feel good about myself. I am no longer going to be throwing these away. Here are the 3 pods that I happen to have left over. I'm going to take them and I'm going to break them apart, and I'll be right back. All right, I took a mallet to each one of these and broke them open, and I'll show you how I get the access here. When you break them open, the circuit board tends to crack in half. because it's in with the mounted plugs and all. Here's our speaker. So I'm just going to pull that out. Seems like that was harder than it should have been. These springs that are on here. Okay, so this is just plastic and trash. These springs, very magnetic. So we're just going to take those and put them right in the scrap steel. All right, so I just had to put my other glove on. I wanted to do that because there's a reservoir in here that still has the insulin in it, and I don't want to get the insulin on my skin because when I do, it does tend to make my skin itch. So there you go. I don't want to do that. And we'll just unscrew this roller. Set it to the side. These pieces right here of the circuit board, I'm going to put those to the side. This round piece right here is a small little pin that I showed you earlier. There's a spring attached to it. So I'm going to pull that out. There's that. This piece here is slightly magnetic. These pieces here, there's the gold spring I mentioned earlier. There's one of the things that hold the spring. There's the other one right there. Just switch tools here. It's a better set of needle nose pliers. And that's it. I'm going to grab this other battery. So 1, 2, 3 batteries. There's metal in here. I'll pull those metals out, those metal pieces out. I don't know if this levered gear right here, the spring, is gold plated or not either. So I'm going to put that over here for a subsequent test. Looks less gold to me than the other pieces, so I'll just process these pieces later. Looks like a copper piece here on the inside. I'll pull that out and put that with the copper. Okay, and the rest of this is just steel. So here we've got the pin, these 2 little gold receivers, the spring, just some plastic pieces, the piezoelectric speaker, just some more steel. Let's see if these are magnetic. Okay, there's a steel spring on here, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, steel spring is definitely magnetic. This, not magnetic, not magnetic, not. These are just little springs. I'm going to get all this magnetic metal out of here. Okay, the little gold spring. Ooh, that is magnetic also. So that might be steel plated gold. Let's see. There's some magnetism there as well. None here. Might be aluminum with some gold plating on it, perhaps. All right, let's see. We're going to tear the other two apart, and then I'll be right back. All told, we have a small pile of circuit boards with some small IC chips in them. We've got a handful of these small barrels that were holding steel springs. We have a small section of these pins. We have a small section of these barrels. We've got some gold-plated springs. We've got these piezoelectric speakers. And if nothing else that we get from any of this, we've pulled out these lithium-ion batteries, and we'll take those to the recycling center specifically for batteries. All right, next up, we're going to start populating these test tubes. I'll label them and be right back. Okay, so these are going to be the rods. Really don't need all of them, I'm sure, but we're going to see how that works. Here's going to be the spring. These are going to be the barrels. So these are the little pieces that are holding some of the stainless steel springs. I don't know why they would be gold plated. Except this is a medical device. So speaker. Here are these pins. You know, all these look an awful lot like the test pins that that I use on or that I see on the electronics. So I've decided to add a control, primarily because I haven't used my stannous chloride in quite some time, and I'm not sure if it's still good. It's been about a month and a half. It should still be good. Maybe it's been 2 months, but I don't want to take that chance. So I know that this has pins in it that are gold plated, so I'm going to add a control to this experiment. And I will go ahead and cut another groove here to hold my control. So these controls that I've got, this is an old 64 meg memory card. It's not good for anything, so no worries there. Okay, I'll process that later. Here are my pins. As you can see, each one of those has gold at the end of it. So let's label this one. See all the gold in there. Control. Memory pins. Not a scientist, but I think that's a good thing to do. All right. And I thought it might be nice to have another beaker to hold the test tubes while I am performing the experiment so we can see. All right, the first one we're going to do is these barrels. I have here some muriatic acid. I'm going to carefully pour in. That feels like too much to me. I'm going to pour some back out. I don't think you have to have a whole lot. We'll see. Here I've got concentrated nitric acid. You see it's the fuming kind, and the fumes are already going that direction. Just a drop or two. I can see some bubbles starting to form on there. Very, very little bit though. I'm going to need to rethink this experiment because I think I need some additional heat. Or patience. I see there's a bit of a reaction starting to take place there now. So let's just let that happen. I am going to let the stuff sit out in the sun, but I am going to add maybe 4 drops of nitric acid in each one of these. Let's see where that gets us. The objective here does not necessarily mean that I need to dissolve all the metals. I just need to put a little bit of gold in the solution. So honestly, I have never worked with a small amount before. This is interesting. I can see some discoloration already, especially down towards the bottom of the test tube. The speaker seems to be a little more vigorous, probably because that's aluminum on the speaker. Maybe it's, I don't know if you can gold plate onto aluminum or not. Somebody let me know. And there's a lot of reaction here in my control also. So I'm going to let these do their thing. I'm going to sit them out in the sun so that they can get warmer. And be careful when you're doing stuff like this. Make sure no animals are outside. Make sure nothing can get to them while they're in the sun. All right, and we'll come back in probably about an hour. All right, they'll be okay out here. They're out of the wind. They are in direct sunlight, so they'll warm up a little bit. Everything looks stable. We'll be back in a little bit. All right, this is about 10 minutes later. Haven't left yet, fortunately. All right, so here we have some fresh stannous chloride now. Let's go ahead and prepare our test again. I do believe that has an ever so slight color change there at the tip. That's going to be really difficult to tell though. There's just not enough gold in solution probably to get a decent reaction, but I swear there does appear to be a little something there. I don't know if that's coming up on camera or not. So let's look at the rest of our stuff. These are the pins. I put way too much nitric acid in these, I think. But I am noticing that not all the metals have been dissolved in these tubes. So that to me means the nitric acid is completely consumed and would not be interfering with the stannous chloride test. So let's see if this has any color change in it. It does not. So here were the barrels. It's a pretty color, but these barrels were pretty small. They're completely consumed. I don't know if that means that we're going to have excess nitric or not. Let's just give this a test and see. That actually looked like, to me, that it had a little bit of color change down there at the very tip. Well, now that's interesting. See that little bit down there? Not that dark spot right there, but just that part down there. Here are the rods. They are definitely down to nothing but the copper. It's interesting that they're copper. I tell you, it's right there along the edges. Looks like a little color change. And all along the edges there. I'm thinking this is definitely a possibility. I don't think I have enough material to get really good tests. Here we have the springs. Looks like they're completely dissolved as well. You can see how yellow this is. I'm thinking that those springs were steel. With a little bit of discoloration down there once I put the stannous chloride on there. I'm gonna say those are also gold plated. And here's the speakers. And definitely the speakers. It's taken a super long time for any of that discoloration to go away, and it's starting to build up at the bottom down there, the darker color. The speakers are absolutely gold plated. All right, that concludes our test. I think these are worthy of taking apart, and I will take these apart from now on. And once again, here are all the gold-plated circuit boards out of the center of these things. I will go through and I'll get these little chips off of each one of them, and I will probably try to get that gold flashing off when I get off the gold flashing from my monitor strips as well. All right, I hope that was informative. Thank you for watching.